We're now on to our last session of the day, data, innovation, and bits and bytes. Again, I'm Tom Lovell with HIKE2. During this session, we'll hear from one of our technology partners about how they are helping customers innovate with data. We have a lot of time for questions and answers at the end, but feel free to use the Q&A feature to ask questions in the meantime. And with that, I'd like to introduce our esteemed guest, John Kosturas, who is the Chief Revenue Officer at Ringlead, a ZoomInfo company. Ringlead is the #1 cloud-based data orchestration platform. John's been lucky enough to assist some of the fastest growing companies in the world by automating their data management. So John and Ringlead do this in a world where data is growing faster every day than the day before. However, most companies don't have the processes and procedures in place to make sense of all the information and truly innovate. So thanks for John joining us, and welcome to the session.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here and looking forward to kind of molding a typical, presentation about data orchestration into a more of a specific track for this group. I think we're excited to be here and have a chance to explain how we can help companies to really orchestrate their data, or just not how we can help, but just the process and the strategy in general. And so I think you guys can see my screen. We'll start off. I know a lot of the companies on the line are servicing or are in the manufacturing vertical, or are part of a network that sells through distributors, from distributors and other types of front end locations. And over the last few years, we've started to see manufacturing companies and other verticals who work through partners or distributors take a little bit of a shift from being specifically B2B focused, finding distributors and building partnerships with them, to really helping those distributors at the end of the day build audiences to rapidly grow within those markets, and not just kind of sit around and wait for the consumers to come and to show interest or make orders. And one of the ways that we like to help facilitate this process is at the end user, the distributor level. There, in most cases, will be some market research done in advance to releasing a product line through a new distributor. Or if you're already working with distributors, those distributors will be collecting orders and contact information and building that back-end data into their systems. And so what we find as the manufacturer that really works well is to go to those distributors and take the data that they're collecting on the consumers buying your products and services and run that data through a process. I'm actually going to show you really quick here a different website, and I'll show you what we did with American Express here. We basically scanned 800,000 or so of their consumers, and we were able to break down trends within those consumer bases, from demographics to location to income and education. But right now what I'm showing you is what we call digital tribes, right? And so if you think about what we're seeing here, and each one of these categories has a description. So it's kind of really cool, right? Some of this stuff is really niche, but you can see, like this customer's audience has like a larger affinity than the global average, which is the one on the bottom, for FIFA, right? Like, so I guess American Express, a large portion of their audience as compared to, a local or global average is going to have a FIFA fanhood, right? Musicians, they're going to like music and that Latina culture and basketball. But you can see here at the top, right, if I was to go and build an audience right out of the gates from this, you'd start at, hey, 5.8% of these people have, an affinity for being suburban globetrotters. And if we jump into interests, it gets a little bit more, conventional, right? Arts and entertainment. Here, business. Their customer base is highly business oriented. And so if you can start to work through these different types of affinities, right, all the way into if they're into automobiles, what types of automobiles, right, what types of motorcycles, right, you can really dive in depending on what you're selling these different companies or through your distributors to the affinities of their end buyer. And what that does is it architects a profile that you and the distributor can go out, and once we've built that audience, right, we understand which affinities to target, we can go into that data set, pull out emails and social profiles. We can enrich those off of a network of providers like, a ZoomInfo or a Spokio or other consumer data sets like Experian, Equifax, BrightQuery, and help to basically reverse that B2B profile into a full consumer-based audience that allows your distributors to then target people that are lookalikes and have access to their emails, have access to keywords that you can drop them in for social campaigns, have access to home address information for mailing campaigns, and really allow you to do that multi-channel approach. And so what I'm going to show you today is a combination of, if you are out there targeting distributors and you need to build your distributor list and maintain it, how to do that. And then also, as you have your distributor list, how to go out and find the audiences of those most likely consumers who will be great for the product or service that you're selling, so that that end distributor in their market can go out and target specific profiles that are going to be more likely to purchase a product that you're manufacturing, right? And so, Ringlead has been in the data orchestration space since about 2003, and we built a core set of technologies that basically sits around the CRM and the marketing automation, the data warehouse, and also integrates with some of the MDM providers. And what we like to focus on early and often before you even go out and build your list is cleaning up what you have so we can help you to analyze it in a big way. And so we started out as a deduplication technology. Sure, you guys all have dupes in your CRMs, your marketing systems, right? We can help you to merge those out, standardize them, normalize the data, enhance it. I'll take you through some of that stuff. But the reason that we like to focus on this is to support the business initiatives, or more likely the go-to-market initiatives that are highly likely to fail. This is a study Gartner published recently that said 40% of all business initiatives fail due to poor data quality. And when we focus on the go-to-market initiatives, that's account-based selling. It's personalizing offers and digital experiences for buyers. It's streamlining lead to cash processes and others, right? And so where anyone should start when they're trying to, clean up data for themselves or maybe for a distributor is by assessing the quality of the information altogether. And one of the ways that we do that is by working with you to, interview a few different departments in your organization to understand their core go-to-market objectives, and basically asking them what data is going to be necessary for those departments to be successful at those objectives. And they'll start giving you data points, and most likely they'll be very generic. And we really help to build that data catalog. And the reason that we're so successful at this is that depending on which vertical you're selling into, You might be selling manufacturing equipment to life science brands, right? Or targeting not-for-profit organizations for giveaways or something, or who knows, right? There could be real estate brands. We basically connected and built a marketplace of over 190 third-party data APIs, which happens to be the largest third-party data iPaaS connectivity platform today. And what that does for us and our customers is it actually makes over 8,000 personal and company attributes available, where if you're selling into certain verticals, we can help you identify data that's available in the market that can support either yourself in your attempt to go get distributors, or your actual distributor base to find audiences that are ripe for whatever product or service you're pushing through their network. And so part of this process is identifying, hey, who's the best foundational data source for you to connect to get, the core attributes across what's required by your sellers and your marketers. But no one's ever perfect. No one has everything. And you're probably, going into multiple verticals or, require multiple data sets. So we actually also help you to find which combination of data providers is going to help you to solve, your entire challenge. And then we have a set of technologies that's free. It's called the Ringlead report card that connects to your data set and scans it for the age, the completeness, right? If you're going to report on people's home addresses and your home address field is only filled in 20% of the use case, you're minimizing the amount of data that you're going to access in your sales and marketing campaign. So we do a completeness analysis. We do an accuracy analysis. If you guys are sending out mailers or email campaigns and you want to avoid spam traps or mailers being returned, we'll make sure that those are verified data points. The data is consistent. Do you have 2-digit states, or do you have it spelled out in 5 different formats, right? And then duplicates. Duplicates are like cockroaches. Everybody has them. And we'll help you and your customers or your distributors to remove that issue, to save face and brand with your brand by not sending multiple offers to the same person and annoying them. But this is really what the dashboard looks like when you run a scan, right? Shows you what percentage of your emails, phone numbers, and addresses are not verified, how many duplicate leads, contacts, accounts, or how many people in your database need to be linked to a business, and then what the percentage of data is missing in field values. And this gives us what we need to create a treatment plan that addresses the 3 pillars of orchestrating data. One is cleansing, the other is prevention, and third, once you have good data and a process for bringing data in, actioning that data into insights that drive more demand, higher transactions, better customers. And so the first step, right, cleansing data. A lot of people have a lot of little ideas about what this is, but when you stack them all together, it's you need to verify the data in your system today, normalize it, enhance it with third parties that have the missing information that you don't to support your business case today. Segment that data into highly customized groupings so that you can automate digital experiences. Dedupe the data. If you are selling B2B, linking person data to account data is a big one, and it's kind of a big challenge. Finding and deleting stale data. And then where I think it gets fun is building scoring and propensity models, right? Whether that's a combination of Snowflake or your data warehouse and a tool like Ringlead to bring it all together and get it in a format where you can actually build models to identify when there are propensities to buy, so that targeting can even improve further. And then ultimately taking those models and going out back to that third-party market to identify buyers before they've actually engaged with your brand, right? And that's where we really start to see revenue increase. And so what happens, right, when you get your distributors an audience list that's net new to them that maybe they're not targeting today? Well, you want to drive them, if you get the right data, to be able to do direct mail, telemarketing, sales email cadences, marketing email cadences, thought leadership like blogs, ebooks, events, case studies, and even social ads and retargeting. So if there is a multi-channel approach, what's going to happen is orders are going to go way up. And when orders go up, data is getting created in the systems. So we recommend that if you're creating a lot of data in your systems, right, you're going to be able to prevent that dirty data from being put into the system in the first place, because it's 10 times more cost effective to prevent dirty data than it is to cleanse it. And the same Gartner study above showed that only 38% of these mid-market and enterprise companies were checking data at the point of capture. And so another way that we like to help our customers is to help them to build a strategy for data ingestion through imports, manual entry, digital experiences like web forms or system syncs from their SAP or their ordering platform or their e-commerce platforms. And really every record that goes into the database should follow that same flow, which is enrich through your identity resolution, enrichment providers. We're going to validate the data, normalize it, segment it, match it for duplications, link it for business linkage. And ultimately, we want to route that to the right, automation. If it's an e-commerce, right, you want to get the order automated and even a follow-up email. But if you're selling to a business and somebody submits like a high-value form or a request for, an ebook on a product, you need to make sure that the right rep at the right territory gets that lead in the right amount of time. So the third pillar is making sure that you're shoring up your territory planning assignment rules and round robining of inbound inquiries, and make sure that your team or the team you're distributing these inquiries to can actually follow up with a phone call in less than 5 minutes, which is when you start to see conversation rates really drop off the charts. Now, I'm just going to show you a diagram of what most people's systems look like today when they're ingesting a digital form from an experience they've created for a buyer. Typically, that goes into a marketing system, right? It could be Marketing Cloud or Eloqua, Oracle, right? Marketo, HubSpot, you name it. There's probably 50 of them out there. What really starts happening is API calls start happening into third-party data providers. So if that person submits a form, you're going to verify an email with never bounce or zero bounce right here and put a wait step on it. And then maybe send the data point off to your ZoomInfos or your Dun & Bradstreets or Data Axles or whoever you're using to enhance that data. Again, a wait step for every one of those. Then typically normalization and segmentation of the data happens in those marketing systems. And by that point, the system syncs it over to the CRM where duplicates are matched, accounts are matched. And by the time your routing solution picks it up, it be 7 to 30 minutes. And this is actual real data from a large survey that we ran across this customer base. And so with Ringlead and ZoomInfo, what happens is that no matter where the data comes in, whether it's an import, a web submission, a manual entry, or a system sync, it's only a single web service call where we pre-built enrichment connectors to be able to verify the email, the phone number, the address, enrich off a combination of your favorite sources, normalize, segment the data, score it, match for accounts, match for duplicates, and route that data to the right person in seconds. Or if this is a digital experience and I want to get a demo from one of your people on a new manufacturing product, it will actually show their calendar right there on the form and book the meeting without them having to talk to anyone right in between. So in our market, what it looks like if you were go out and try to buy this level of automation, you'd have to actually get a routing solution, a calendaring solution, a dedupe solution, an enrichment connector solution, and even manipulation and normalization solution. And learning 5 to 6 UIs and maintaining 5 to 6 different help centers and support processes is a real pain. But also there's no backbone of being able to go in and adjust whatever data source, what your team or your distributors need to really attack the verticals that they're in. And so having this data marketplace behind our technology really helps because we can help you to manipulate which data sources that you're going to work with in each unique experience. But third, we're also focused on a true prevention of dirty data, where most of those providers are triggering cleanup, which is 10 times less cost effective. So when you do look for a data solution, you want to make sure it's not just a one-time cleanup thing. It's that it's always on. It's always working on any place that data is being created. Because I promise you, cleaning up your data periodically is a pain in the butt. But if you prevent it, it becomes a lot easier. And then lastly, Ringlead was actually acquired by ZoomInfo, one of the top B2B data sources in the world. I'd say the top, right? Company information, contact information. But this is a public company. It's making acquisitions across a go-to-market stack and building a modern go-to-market platform. So you can basically ingest data from any combination of source. Then you can engage it with tools that we have, which are like email automation tools for reps, chat bots for your website, scoring applications to build propensity models, Snowflake and other data warehouse integrations to do large modeling and transfer of data into any of your go-to-market systems. And so there's a real opportunity here to not just onboard data, but to activate it, to get it into those campaigns, into the ad networks, into email campaigns, into direct email or direct mail campaigns, all within a single go-to-market platform. And so what the orchestration side looks like today of what I was mentioning earlier is if you go and you aggregate or get access to your distributors customer order data from your segment, anything that they purchase from your brand, right? We can basically connect any combination of data source into the technology. So like you can see here, I've got ZoomInfo here, but I've got PIPL, which is a consumer, it's a consumer data set where once we use the Stat Social tool to build out audiences and provide an email, then we can pass that email to a tool like People that can find that person at their home and get you a home address, a home phone number, a mobile phone number, right? And then we can pass it off to a social provider to get you social identities. And so at the end of the day, what the tool does is it allows you to plug in any combination of sources. And what Ringlead does is help you find those sources by having a marketplace that's available where if you need social data or you need consumer data or you need risk information on whether somebody is actually a viable person to purchase your product and pay for it, right? We can help you to find that data, plug it into the platform, and then we can help to build out these enrichment schema, right? So an example here would be, I connect to Stat Social to build an audience, and then I send that data through whatever other combination of sources I have so that I can get the phone numbers and the other critical information I need to pass back to the distributors, right? And once I have those packages created, I can even write data directly into my system. So we can mass enrich that data. We can also enrich that data through incoming trade show files or web form submissions, right? Where I can come in here and I can filter down on, hey, let me find every person in my database that is missing a job title or is missing a physical address or a phone number or any person I need to reverse engineer a business profile back into a consumer profile. And then we can access the data points from the solutions that will help us to solve the issue we're trying to solve. And here you can see I'm putting Stat Social in, where now I can map the Stat Social affinity data against my own customer CRM data or my own marketing automation data, so that I can then build those audiences with the information that's in my system, as well as not only just enrich, but we can also discover those same audiences and find net new data that's not already in your system. So this is kind of a really cool way to work with your distributors to do some initial evaluation of their data, and then to enhance it with values that will give you a good idea of who the audiences are within their data, and then take that insight back into our discovery network to build a net new list, and then further enrich that net new list with those consumer data points like home phone number, mobile phone number, physical address, social links. And that will enable your end users or your distributors to really get out there and start to target. But again, after targeting, right, what happens is we want to start doing a true prevention process on new data. So let's say that your distributors start targeting this great new audience, and all of a sudden the orders or the leads or the web forms start filling in. Well, every new data point that comes into the system, if you're asking for 4 or 5 fields on a form, or maybe you're asking just for a name and an email and a phone and a credit card and a physical address, but you need to now know more information about that person. Well, the same thing can be done here. I can map in my data sources so that when those new records are being created in our system, we can automatically enrich 10 more fields or 100 more fields, or as many data points as you have access to through these third parties. So we can basically take a new order or a new inquiry and automatically fully append that so that that person can now be sold and marketed into and segmented into campaigns in a whole new meaningful way, right? So we'll take that new data point, we'll enhance it, we'll then normalize that data. So, if you got a company name from Dun & Bradstreet, you can convert it back into proper case when they all caps it. Or if you need 2-digit state ISO codes instead of full state spelled out so that your system can ingest the data, we'll abbreviate that information into the ISO structure. Also standardize job titles and do some other structuring of data, right? And then we can even take it a step further to segment that information. So if you enriched a record and then you normalize it, well, now you probably do have a job title, right? But maybe you don't just want a job title. You want a role, you want a department, you want a persona. And this is typically something that, is done in the marketing system, and it's silos and marketing campaigns. But we can make sure that when data flows through and it's being enriched, or the data is being provided by the end user, that if it matches a certain criteria, you'll automatically re-enrich it and output another value so that you can track a job title, role, department, level. If you guys are targeting specific SIC codes or industries, right, or NAICS codes, this will give you the ability to restructure the way that you describe an NAICS code, right? Where you can actually come in here and say, hey, no, I don't think this matches what they say it is. I want to say this is advertising and marketing. And this group is agriculture and forestry, right? So you can basically manipulate the data that's coming in by segmenting it, right? And so what I've shown you up to this point is how to connect data sources and batch enrich, as well as how to take new data that's being created in your system after you start to target and automatically enrich it, normalize it, segment it, and then you take another step, which is matching that new person who's submitting an order off of your existing contact, lead, or account database, so that you won't be creating duplicates when that data pushes into CRM or the marketing system. It'll automatically find a match if one exists and make an update to that record, notify the user of that record, and only if it's net new, go in and create a new record in your system, right? So this is a whole flow where all the way from ingestion to enriching, normalizing, segmenting, and matching that data, really providing a real-time workflow where typically what happens, when you get a new order is it goes into a manual process with an SDR or somebody qualifying these orders or leads, and they could take days, hours, weeks, or even never get to them. So to be able to automate that process is really cool. And what it also gives us is it gives us 4 scenarios where, hey, maybe that lead that came in didn't match anything in our system. Maybe it matched an existing lead or matched an existing contact or an account. And so what we can do from here is actually build intelligent territory rules where if the lead comes in, it doesn't match anything, and it is between a revenue band or an employee band, and it's raised capital of a certain amount, then we can basically put that into a round robin that supports that territory with a set of rules that you can give equal or weighted distributions out to those users, right? And if it does match an existing lead or a contact, right, maybe you want to continue to have the same owner own that lead, or maybe you want to adjust the owner into a new lead owner. And if it matches an account, right, there's so many different scenarios that can take place here that you can basically build full automation into the territory assignment rules for how that new inquiry into your database is going to be assigned out to the right user to be able to have an intelligent conversation. So really what we've gone through is mostly an enrich as well as a real-time workflow. But I'd also like to talk about how just general hygiene can be accomplished within our applications, right? If you are running into a problem with a lot of duplicates in your database, right, we can basically help you to connect this to the data set up your own custom matching algorithms, right? Most systems that provide duplicate cleansing are only email matching, but really allows you to basically use any of your data values and over 46 different matchers that will really help you to template and learn. But basically we can zero in on records that are in your lead or contact or account or other data set and match them based on your own criteria. We then allow you to set master record rules. So if you had 5 records that were the same person, which one is going to win? Which one is going to be surviving while the other 4 are deleted, right? And don't worry, we don't delete all the information about like their activity history. We reparent all that, but you have to know which one's going to win. So again, rule sets can define that. And then when you have 5 records that you're merging together, you may have text fields like a description where sales reps are putting their notes. And we can concatenate those values into a single one during the merge. If you have pick list values that maybe you want to qualify the lead to win over a contacted to win over the open, right? You can save hierarchies to make sure that we're intelligently selecting the status, right? And if you're using a lead scoring system, you have a bunch of dupes, you're probably holding a ton of leads hostage from reaching them at MQL. So when we merge those, you can actually add their lead score values together or choose the highest or the lowest or the newest or the oldest. It's a really intelligent way for an administrator in your org to set up rules so that when they're looking at a mass merging of hundreds or thousands or millions of duplicates in our report, right, they're going to know that this after merge preview of the record is exactly how they wanted it, so that they feel comfortable doing a global merge, which means merging all of the duplicates with a click of a button, and then scheduling those merges to kick off periodically to make sure, like if anything slipped through the cracks, you can automatically have a schedule to clean up on a daily, weekly, hourly, quarterly basis. And that's a pretty great feature as well. But you can also enforce any of our other features like normalization segmentation across a batch of your database. You can run mass updates to ownership or field values across the database, even product SKUs. I know that's a big one for all of us who have a ton of product SKUs and are changing them often. But the platform's pretty amazing, right? If you have any questions about how to find the right data providers, how to reverse engineer B2B audiences into B2C audiences, how to clean up your CRM, or how to set up global territory management, and how to build lists of target audiences, right? We will be a great resource for anything data, and would love to kind of dive deeper in any sort of session if you need to reach out, right? Obviously, it could be inquiry to ringlead.com or ZoomInfo, but you can also reach out to the team at HIKE2. For some of this stuff, it requires just as much sophistication as a Salesforce implementation. And we know that 7 out of 10 companies that purchase Salesforce are using an actual partner to do the support and implementations. And so we work with HIKE2 on some amazing use cases in manufacturing and even other verticals. And they have some really great background and knowledge about how to plan and strategize and build out some of these workflows. And I'm sure that we'd be really excited to chat with any of you guys, regardless of whether you're willing to purchase anything, but just to build plans around orchestrating data, digital experiences, and a personalized customer journey.
Well, thanks, John. I mean, that was an awesome presentation and demo. I think as a former data management professional, like this platform is so pervasive on what it can do for you. And when we talk about innovation as a summation of the summit, you can only do so much if your data isn't good. It's giving you the wrong signals, telling you where to innovate, how well the innovation is going, all that. So really, really found this very helpful. So, appreciate your time. I really thank you for that. And, please, anybody on the line, feel free to reach out to us and we can put you in contact with John. And as part of this presentation, we'll be sharing out his contact information as well. Thanks, John.
Thanks, everybody.